Well, hello. I'm Christine Beech, and I'm going to be running through today some thoughts on what it takes to create your own personal pitch. And we're going to try to do this virtually without having done that before. So I'm going to go ahead and record this. You're going to watch it, and then your facilitators in the room are going to carry you through some of the exercises that we're going to do today. So thanks for your attention. Bear with me if we have any technical glitches, and we'll get through this. Now, just to get us started, this whole idea of creating your own personal pitch, what does that mean, right? So when we say a pitch, people often think about like you're selling something, right? You're trying to pitch them a product or a solution, but really it's just a term to say, I'm sharing something important and I'm doing it in a prepared way. So when people say, tell me about yourself, you know, it can be awkward. You can feel like, what do they really want to know? I'm not sure, right? And yet, if we take a step back and try figuring out the answer to that question when we're not the person who is presenting, but someone else is, that's when we can really start saying, oh, you know what I wish I knew, right? So let's try doing that now. Imagine you're putting together a 5K. And you have to have somebody to help you with the fundraising, with putting this all together. If you ask that person, tell me about yourself, what would you want to know before you hired them to take on that role? What kind of stuff would make you comfortable with their skills, with the background they bring, who they are, all of those things? You know, just take 5 minutes and your facilitators are going to go ahead and maybe hit pause on me. Hopefully I don't look terrible when they pause the screen. And while it's paused, you're going to take some time to write out a few things and think about what it is you'd want to know. Okay, so just keep that exercise in the back of your mind, right? As we go through this, you're going to refer back to think through, I didn't think to add that maybe, but I would, or actually there are things I want to put on there that weren't on there, and we can kind of go through that. But so why do you need to create something that really is just sharing about yourself? I mean, you know yourself pretty well. You should be able to share about yourself without having to worry about anything, right? You should be in a position where it's not a problem. But despite that, we usually don't know what to share when the moment comes up. Think back, how often have you had a conversation and you walked away and you said, oh, I should have said, or I can't believe I said that, right? You shared something you didn't mean to share, you wouldn't want to share, or I forgot to tell them about this, and that would have been really helpful. By creating a pitch, we get to filter through all of those things and kind of come up with what we really want to share with somebody. So if we have a pitch that's tailored to different situations, we'll know what we want to say, because sometimes those situations change and what we want to share changes, but we can equally prepare for each of those situations. So think about when you might need one, right? I've put a couple up here that might be true for you. You might be coming up to a point where you're going to have an interview for a job. And the first question they may ask you is, tell me about yourself. I can tell you personally that that often is the make or break question, simply because of how well you respond to that, and it kind of colors how they see you for the rest of the interview. Another one is you might want to put one together just for informal conversation. And I think about that with all of you, you'll come up on a high school graduation, say you have a party, your parents, have their friends there, and people are like, so what are you going to do? What do you want to do? You may want to have some type of pitch prepared. Well, this is who I am, this is what I've done, this is where it's prepared me to go, this is what I want to do. Right? There might be one for introducing yourself in new situations. We've all been there. You join a new class, a new group, it's the beginning of the school year, and everybody says, let's go around and introduce yourself. And it's nice to have something ready just to say at that moment. So in all of those cases, you have the opportunity to make yourself much more comfortable, because if you don't feel comfortable with what you're going to share, it'll be visible, and it'll color how people see you in a way that you don't want it to. You just want to put your best foot forward. And so that's where you have an opportunity to do that by preparing a personal pitch. So that's my pitch for why you should do one, huh? So I share this with you today because you take all different aspects of your life and you draw on them to make this pitch. And in different situations, you're going to make that pitch differently. Certainly when I am talking to people who I have a work connection to, I'm going to highlight some of the things I'm doing at work, my goals at work, where I want to go with that. If I happen to be talking to someone and I find out that they're a veteran as well, I might talk to them about that. If we have a commonality of where we've gone before, something we've done, I might talk to them about that. So I thought I'd maybe offer you what a pitch could look like if I were to meet someone who, maybe I'm at a chamber event, a Winona Chamber event, and I meet someone and they say, tell me about yourself. So I'm going to try and do this and do it pretty succinctly. So we'll see how it goes, right? Hi, I'm Christine. I'm a professor at St. Mary's University of Minnesota, where I teach in the entrepreneurship program, and I teach in business classes as well. I've been asked why I would teach after 20 years of serving in the Army and then 15 of building businesses. But in my mind, it's just a great way to share my experience and give back. I enjoy this new role. I love helping students connect with their skills and their passions and figure out what they're going to do after graduation. My goal is to see students open themselves up to a wide range of possibilities and have the foundation to succeed in whatever they choose to do in life. One of the things that makes me a good business professor is that I'm able to bring my experience of starting and running a business into the conversation. I find that students appreciate hearing the obstacles that I faced. They're intrigued by the fact that I grew my first business from $0 to $21 million in 5 years. They want to know what worked and what didn't. I'm able to bring these experiences into those classroom conversations. Frankly, when I first moved to Minnesota with my family, I was not sure what my next role was going to be, and I spent some time trying to figure that out. I feel fortunate that this opportunity with students came along. Until I actually got in the classroom and started teaching, I didn't know if it would work out, but I'm glad it did. I'm curious, what made you choose your profession and how did you come to be in your current role? Okay, so there you have it. That was my pitch. So I've told you a little bit about myself. I've shared some of my background. I've shared what I want to do going forward. And I've ended it with something for them to talk about themselves. So now we're going to start thinking about how you create your pitch. You do that by creating content that's effective and developing delivery that works. So what do we mean when we say it's effective? You want to highlight your strengths and attributes. This is not the time to sell yourself short. You want to share experiences that you have, something that's unique about you. You guys might have caught on, I was in the military, I built a very successful business. These are things that maybe someone will remember later. But you don't want to assume any knowledge, so we're going to clarify. So if you're talking about a sports term or a technical term with an instrument or something like that, you definitely want to clarify. Don't assume that they know what that is. And then work to develop a delivery that works for you, right? You want to stay on point. Try to avoid long strung out filler words. You want to keep it to about a minute, minute and a half. So as we go through, I'm going to break down each of those paragraphs within the pitch for you. Go ahead and take notes to develop your own pitch that we're going to do as an exercise at the end of this. Okay, so how do you get started? You start by introducing yourself and sharing something that might intrigue someone, right? So you want it to differentiate you from those that are around you. So what do you have that maybe you can either have a bond with someone that you're talking to, or it might pique their interest and cause them to want to talk to you further? You'll have to figure that out. So I've put together here 2 examples, right? So in one, we're talking about a student who's pursuing a career in drafting and CAD design, right? So what is the thing that they use to differentiate themselves? I have 7 brothers and I'm the oldest, which has contributed to my skills as a negotiator, taught me the value of compromise, and developed me as a leader. That's pretty good, I think, right? So are you the oldest child? Do you have many siblings? Is there something else that sets you apart? Maybe you were the tallest person in your class, and what did that teach you about standing out, right? The second example here, this is where they say, I've had a passion for helping people, but after volunteering on a habitat build project in high school, I knew I also wanted to work for a company that prioritizes volunteerism, right? So tie something you've done to something you'd like to do, some way that those two are connected, that the person that's listening to this can draw from. How about, I'm John, a senior in Winona. My plan is to start my own business as an electrician at some point. My father owns his own company, so I grew up knowing just how much effort goes into running a business and how important each employee is to the success of the company. So that tells the person that they're talking to, I'm taking the things that I see around me and I'm learning from them and I'm applying them in this positive way. It could be anything, right? Or I'm Celeste, a junior at Winona Senior High. I plan to study communication and join a marketing firm. As a dedicated soccer player, I've been a member of a team for over 10 years, and I've served as captain twice. Regardless of my role on the team, I've learned how to pull my weight and get the best out of my teammates in hard situations. So do you play a sport? Is this something that you have a passion for? That could be an instrument as well. That could be a lot of things. But you can show how your dedication to that effort has taught you a skill, a leadership skill, or maybe how to be a good team member, how to figure out how to work with others. And that's really attractive to people when they want to get to know you and figure out how to interact with you as a person. Okay, so then once you've introduced yourself and you've kind of set that stage, the next part is where you say what you really want to do. I want to secure an internship with a marketing firm. I want to pursue a degree in nursing. And what do you want to do with it? Work for a top-ranked hospital, right? So you can look through each of these. You know, if you say, I would like to, while I'm still in school, learn this to figure out if this is what I want to do. Or I would like to be, as part of this REACH program, I would like to get exposed to many different types of employers in the region in order to figure out the right career path for me. Maybe that's what you want to say there, right? Maybe you say, right now, I want to try to find a marketing firm to work for, or electrician to work for, because my hope is to figure out how to run the business. And then maybe I can have my own someday. So that's the content. What do you want? The next piece, right? The next piece that you're going to talk about, this is, what do you bring to the table? What experiences have you had that they would be interested in knowing about? And believe me, you have them. Don't sell yourself short, okay? So you may have taken classes in something that's relevant. Let them know that, right? You may have had a summer job that taught you some skills that you want to highlight, whether those are skills in sales and customer service, maybe they're skills in electrical work or some other type of very specific skill that they might be looking for. And it doesn't matter what it is, right? Or it might be very general, like leadership, teamwork, those types of things. If you want to show that you have initiative and drive and are self-motivated, you might talk about all the small businesses you've run. And believe me, you probably have, right? Have you gotten clients that you babysit for or mow lawns for or do other things for? Then phrase it that way. For the last 5 years, I've been running my own small business, finding clients and providing babysitting, lawn care, personal assistant services, whatever it is, to multiple customers. And if you're an athlete or you have something you've dedicated a lot of time to, you can talk about how you've had to balance that while doing schoolwork and having a job, and that shows discipline and planning, right? So here I've got, one of the best lessons from being a student athlete has been the need to develop important time management skills. Holding down a job, practicing with my team, while also keeping up with school requires that I show great discipline and effective planning. And those are skills that people want to know you have. So then we move all the way back to why you, right? You're circling back. So you've talked about your knowledge and your skills. You've said, This is who I am. This is what I'm good at. This is how I've gotten experience. So why? Why would they then take a chance on you for something? So maybe you want to say, this is toot your own horn time, right? I received more positive customer comment cards than anyone else last summer. In fact, several people took the time to find my manager and compliment my customer service. Right? Businesses know they live or die on customer service. Your ability to demonstrate that you acknowledge that you give it a lot of weight, that you're working on that is important. Right? You can say something along the lines of, someone told me that my work was valued, and I liked that because it showed that I was helping them succeed. Any business owner wants to know that you can help a business be successful through your own hard work. So think about that. So in this last example I have on this one, last year I volunteered to do all the social media marketing for our high school play, and the result was one of the best attended plays ever. Over half the ticket purchasers indicated they heard about it through social media. So you see in each of these, the theme is, here's what I did, here's the result of what I did, right? So make sure it's tied to some kind of tangible result that shows the good work you did. I've got a nice little graphic there in the corner that has words that are really just for you to draw on. So maybe if you're trying to say, how would I describe something? Maybe you want to be professional, helpful, friendly, reliable, informative, knowledgeable, competent, right? Efficient. Those are all just words for you to draw off of as you formulate your ideas. So then you've shared, right? And it really isn't taking very long. You've put together just a few sentences that tell a little bit about you, give people an idea of who they're dealing with, and then you hand it off back to them. Because if you don't do that, there's going to be an awkward pause. You're going to finish talking and you're going to be looking at them and they're going to be looking at you and nobody's really sure who's supposed to talk next. But if you ask them a question, it's a clear handoff to them and it shows interest in them. Because I got to tell you, people want to know that you're interested in what they have to say. You want to know that other people are interested in what you have to say. If you're talking to them and they're not looking back at you, that's disconcerting, right? If you get to the end and you share with them that you have something you'd like to learn from them, and it can be a question that goes in a lot of different directions, that gives them license to help you, which they may very well want to do. It gives them license to talk. It allows them to understand that now it's on you. I've shared, now I'd like to hear from you, right? So you can frame that in a lot of ways. I'm curious, given your experience, what type of customer service experience do you look for when you hire at your firm? Where would my skills be most valued if I were to work at your company? Where did you learn most? What did you learn most from your first job after high school? What types of additional experiences would make me even more attractive, assuming I am very attractive, right, to a future employer? Where did you get your training for the job you have now? I mean, that could be very interesting for you. If the person holds a job that you're actually interested in, how did you get there, right? And then there's what would be the next steps you would suggest for me to gain additional experience? What recommendations would you have for me to achieve my goals? And then actually listen to the answer they provide, and that can form the basis of the future conversation. So this is us putting one together. Right? So I've taken bits and pieces of the ones that we've walked through. And so yours would look something very much like this. Hi, I'm John, a senior in Winona. My plan is to start a business as an electrician at some point. My father owns his own company, so I grew up knowing just how much goes into running a business and how important each employee is to the success of the company. I'd like to start working for an electrician now so I can learn the ropes of running a business with a long-term goal of running my own electrical business in 5 to 10 years. Last summer, I worked for HBC pulling cable and helping the technicians install connectors. There was some electrical work involved, which allowed me to develop my foundational skills in this area. I became so good at my job that the front office told me I was the #1 most requested assistant. All the technicians wanted me on their trucks. This was very rewarding, and I was happy to share with my father that I was helping the business be successful through my hard work. I'm curious, given your experience, what types of next steps would you suggest for me to gain additional experience? Where would my skills be most valued if I were to work at your company? So if you were able to have something kind of in the hopper, ready to go, of this nature, when you met with someone who potentially was a college admissions person or a potential employer or just someone you don't know who's asking you this question, it really makes it a lot easier to respond and respond well in a way that makes you, that just reflects who you are most ideally, right? So what did we say? Okay, content was one part and then delivery was the other part, right? What makes your pitch effective and interesting? So being bold, eye contact, right? Being sure of yourself and engaging with the person that's across from you. So these are things that are demonstrated in your body language. They're demonstrated in how you are looking and engaging with the other person. They're demonstrated in how you speak, right? And I'm not suggesting that you need to keep eye contact, like never lose eye contact, because that can be uncomfortable for both the person on the other side and for you. But there's a big difference between making eye contact and maybe thinking about something and making eye contact as opposed to just looking down when you're talking. And you know exactly what I mean, right? So be clear, speak out, don't drift off. And that can be a challenge for me. I can start talking and forget that my voice has gone down. So if you start and you're saying, hey, this is who I am and this is what I do, and they have a hard time following you, that's a problem, right? So be clear and be brief. Say what you plan to say and then stop. That's the ideal way to do it, right? And keep in mind, if you don't seem interested in being somewhere, the other person isn't going to be interested either, right? But if you are, if you're passionate about what you're talking about, passionate about the things you're sharing, it's really kind of hard for the other person not to pay attention to you. It is exciting for somebody to be around somebody that has a passion in what they do, right? I love telling people about, yeah, I was in the Army for 20 years. How about you, right? If they were, we have a commonality. If they weren't, they usually find it a curiosity and they can ask me more about it, right? Or they tell me their dad or their sister or whoever was in the Army. So if I'm passionate about it and I share it, they have a hard time to going, oh, okay, that's nice, right? Because the passion or the engagement or the interest pulls them back in. So delivery. All right. So the things I want to ask you to avoid. Don't start with a question, right? If somebody says, tell me about yourself, the wrong answer is, what do you want to know? And I'm sure you've done it, but it comes across kind of passive aggressive. It comes across like, I'm really not interested, but if you give me a specific list, I'll share it with you. So I would just move right past that. If they say, tell me about yourself, then do just that. Tell them about you. Try very hard to focus on all your positives. Try not to say things that would reduce who you are. You are a valuable human being who has a lot to offer, so share that with them. It's not the time to say, well, I haven't really done a lot yet, or I don't know, usually people want to hear about my brother or my parents, not me, or whatever. The other person feels stupid for having asked the question, and they're immediately put in the situation of feeling like they have to bolster you up and encourage you when they don't even really know you yet, right? So try very hard to just focus on all the good that you're bringing to the table and share that with them so they can celebrate it with you. Filler words. They're tough. They're really tough. We have go-to filler words that are in our vocabulary that we don't even know. Some of us start sentences with, so I was thinking. Others with, well, it's like hard to describe sometimes, but kind of like a, right? That's our go-to word, like. For me, right. I'll say something, I'll say right, like I want affirmation from you, but it's a filler word. So if we can avoid those, that's the ideal. But at a minimum, let's try to reduce them. Just play them down. And whatever you do, don't string them together. Well, I sort of like to, right? Don't string them together. Looking away when you're speaking, and that's tough. That's really tough. But when you are not engaging the person in front of you, if you start talking and you're thinking about what you're saying and you start kind of looking off while you're saying it, it suggests to the person that's there that you're not really engaged with them. You may be in your own mind, but you're not with them. So try very hard to stay focused on the person who's in front of you. And please, don't be discouraged if the response isn't what you were looking for, right? So say you do this and you feel like, wow, I nailed it. I did it great. And then they say, oh, that's nice. And then they don't really engage you. That is going to happen. And that's okay. The next person you talk to is probably going to have a completely different reaction. And some of you are never going to get that reaction, but you should be prepared that it may happen. That's all right. And if you're looking for a job, if you got the first job that you applied for, keep looking a little bit. I wouldn't say no to that one, but I'd keep looking because it may be that you're underselling your worth, that you have more to offer than you realize, and that employers are going to be excited to nab you up. Okay, so we've moved into the exercise time, right? So I'm going to explain what we're going to do, and then at the end of my explanation, I think your facilitators are going to go ahead and pause the video. But here's what we're going to do. So you're going to take 5 minutes, and you're going to write out one version of your own pitch. And for this exercise, we're going to focus on the tell me about yourself during a college visit. So you can refer back to any examples. As a matter of fact, I am going to move it back to this one. So this is up on the screen when they hit pause. And I'm going to ask you to spend 5 minutes working on building out your own. Now, if you've been taking notes all along, that might seem like it's going to be just fine amount of time. If you haven't, 5 minutes might seem too short. I'm going to let your facilitators work through that time frame, but go ahead and finish up the exercise and write out your own. Go. Okay, so I'm going to assume you had the time you needed to write out your personal pitch that looks a lot like the one up on the screen. So now I would like you to, in this era, line up 2 lines facing each other socially distant and pitch to the person in front of you. So you're going to line up, do the pitch, and then after you pitch, the alarm is going to go off. You're going to move to the left. So the alarm will be set for 90 seconds. You'll move to the left and pitch someone else again. And you'll do this for 5 rounds. And then we're going to come back together and discuss the results. What did you learn from that? Would you change what you have in your pitch? How do you want that to look, right? What do you like, not like about any of this? So we're going to go ahead and pause this and let you go through this iteration. Okay. Well, we've come to the end of our time together. And I'm going to go ahead and stop share. I hope that you found this really helpful, that this was a way for you to learn how to really just articulate the best of you and present the best of you to others around you. I'm hopeful that we have a chance for a live question and answer session at this point in time, but I will leave that to your facilitators. So thanks very much for your time and attention today.